So Paul and I are here. We were talking about GPT the other week and realised that, is this a threat to what we do in terms of our coaching, our consultancy, and how we support businesses and business owners substitute people like us? And it's an interesting question, but what we realised that AI is actually never going to be a good substitute for experience. So we're probably going to just have a quick chat about the commodity of experience as a currency, and how business owners still need to rely on good experience to help run their businesses, not just all the tools and the gizmos that are coming out at the moment. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I think, at some point, there'll become a point where actually they don't need us because experience can become that sort of thing. But I don't think we're there. I don't think we're there for quite some time to come. I think there are so many things in business. There's so many tools that are available, so many things there. And actually, to actually use them properly, to get the most benefit from them, it's not about the using them. It's how to use them, what to use them for, what not to use them for. You take ChatGPT as a tool. It's brilliant. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing when you actually, for the first time, you go and look at it and the things that you can do with it. But actually, whilst there's a lot of people that will jump on board with that, and that's great, and they will do things, all you're doing is kind of creating more generic in a lot of it. Because people will use it for writing their blog content. From a marketing guy, putting content out into the world is a really useful, really valuable thing. People will. Again, my biggest bugbear in business, people don't think enough. Perhaps we'll come back to that. But people will put their blogs out using GPT, and lots of people do that. So actually, the benefit of it, the time-saving benefit, and all that kind of stuff, that will disappear because lots of people are putting it all out, and actually Google will start to see that content. We're already seeing Google's steps towards, I can't think of the right word, punishing GPT.
If it becomes easier to write a blog, if it becomes easier to write a post using this thing,
yeah,
then does that mean that people are going to write more of them? Well, display more of them, because they may not be writing it, they may be using the AI to do that. So therefore, does that mean that there's just even more messages that are more generic, which means that as a business owner, an experienced business owner, how do you sort the wheat from the chaff in terms of what is a real person with real experience and real knowledge versus those that have just dipped into AI to come up with some...
It's a really interesting question. My gut reaction here is that actually, no. It won't. It will increase the genericness of a lot of the content. I think that's a thing. I think that actually people who aren't committed to regular outgoing activity probably won't do it. They'll binge GPT. So they'll do a bit and then forget about it. And it needs, I think, in actually real terms, it needs to be a habit. If the people watching this, listening to this, if they're not doing regular outgoing content, whether it be audio, whether it be video, whether it be written, that kind of stuff, I think if they're not already doing that, ChatGPT probably won't help them. GPT probably won't help them sustainably because they haven't got the habit to do it. But I do think you're right. I think there will be an influx of more generic content, and I don't know. We'll see over time. We'll see just how kind of clever it is. But I think I think the challenge for this is it's a really good thing actually to be able to sit there and think, right, because when you do create your own content, when you do in whatever kind of form here, you've got to do it, you've got to think about it, you've got to research it. And I think there's a huge value for using ChatGPT and others, and there's Jasper and there's all kind of other things out there. But actually, the real benefit here is putting your personal experience back into that article to make it sound like it's written by you, to make you put your opinions into it, to make you can put your touch on it, so it is useful content. I like the idea of kind of using it for the donkey work for some of the content, but actually I think the value it's what you said. I think experience, it is that new commodity, knowing what to do, when to use it, what to do. It's that old story of the guy in the broken machine, and he used to work on that machine, and machine breaks, he comes back The company ring him and say, look, the machine's broken, can you come and have a look for it? And he broken, can you come and have a look for it? And he comes in, he's there for 1 minute, he puts a little chalk cross on it and puts in an invoice for 10 grand. And they're like, 10 grand, you've been here for 5 minutes. They're like, well, it's 9 grand for knowing where to put it and 1 grand for the chalk or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's that's the thing. It is that experience of knowing how to do it, what not to. That's a bit that I think is getting lost because the tools are making the doing of it so easy.
Okay, so on that basis then, if you're a business owner, you've got a problem, you're looking on LinkedIn, Google, wherever you go, and source your resources from, it's going to be a minefield to figure out who's doing what, who knows what, who's the most experienced. You know, if there's a person that says that they are a coach or a consultant in a particular expertise, I mean, in theory, I could use ChatGPT to write me a blog post that tells me I'm an experienced consultant in the farming industry.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about farming. Yeah. But to all intents and purposes, I could set up a LinkedIn profile, stand myself next to a tractor, do lots of really good posts. I should try and do that, yeah. I've got the ruddy complexion, I think, yeah. I don't have the check shirts there. I think that's the bit that's missing.
I know
but
you do.
That's easy to get. But, the point is that you can almost fake it till you make it a little bit with this stuff now, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think, you're dead right. I think that has been happening for a long time, actually, and this getting harder to cut through the nonsense. We are, all industries are there, but the two of us are in different versions of the same industry that are full of people that aren't very good. And it has become ever easier to talk a great game. It's been ever easier to put the content out there. And I think that's the different thing, which then puts the challenge on people like us who, I'm going to say it, we have real experience. We've been around the block, we've both run companies, we've been in companies, we've worked with loads of different companies, like on the hands and stuff. The onus is on us to find different ways of doing that, and the normal rules still apply. You look at what you do. Look at the name, what you do. Look at the names of the people, the businesses that you work with. That's not an accident. That's not something that you can BS through. So those kind of things are important. Like the testimonials backing those kind of things are important. But I think actually, dare I say it, it's things like this. It's actually having those conversations that give people things that they. It's a bit like Donald Trump. You only ever get lied to once, because the first time it's a shock. After that, always in the back of your mind, you've got that. Well, it might not be true. No one can believe anything that Trump says anymore, and that might be right or wrong. Let's perhaps not go down that alleyway. But actually, I'm not saying you need to look at everybody skeptically, but you need to look at things with the environs of the fact that everything's really easy to make up. So actually, it is on us to be able to kind of have real, honest, open conversations, to talk about the stuff that we do, have opinions on stuff, and it's not just kind of splurging out there, but we have to create a feeling more than a fact, and that's the thing that's going to get the business for us. If we just, the facts are easy to make up. Creating, you want a business owner. I know people that have worked with you and have come away breathing out, and that's nothing to do with the what. That's all to do with the how. And this is you look at if there are business owners looking to this that have kind of very real issues at the moment, being physically with other people is one of the most valuable things. Going to seek help. Yes, you should read about it. Yes, you can find about it. But actually, having someone else's opinion, having someone else's there, and it's and again, our industries are full of people that don't have any experience but set themselves up to have experience, and that makes it harder. But as a business owner, if you are sitting there with a problem, you have to be able to go and look for someone. If you're trying to take advice and help from someone that hasn't been through it, hasn't run a business, hasn't had a business win, hasn't had a business fail, hasn't had actual hands-on experience. It doesn't need to be industry experience. Sometimes that is useful, but it doesn't need to be. But they need life experience, actual what it's like to go through the emotions and the practicalities of running businesses, and that's the bit that we have to get across in how we do it. And that's the bit where things like ChatGPT don't necessarily help.
The takeaway from what we just talked about, if I think about it, is the strongest currency of all is experience. You can't take experience away from somebody. You can't remove experience. You can continue to develop your experience based on the new clients that you work with, or whatever your past has delivered for you. So that's the cool thing, is that in the place that we are right now, and the jobs that we do and the people that we work with, got our experience because we've been around the block.
Yeah.
We've got the t-shirts, we've got the scars, we've got all the other.
I'm only 21 and I look like this.
We've got all the novelty pens and pencils to say that we've been here and done this. So that's the easy bit. We know what we've got.
Yeah.
What we do and what those people in our situation has to do as well is from what you just said, is give the business owners that need the help the emotional security that we have that experience. It's not just a list of facts that we may or may not know.
Yeah.
Because until you're actually in the devil of the detail, those facts are irrelevant until you know what's what.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, if we were to give some advice to business owners, it would be get under the bonnet of the person that you're talking to, find out what it is that they really know,
Yes.
what is it that really know,
Yes.
what is it that they've really experienced, what do they believe is relevant experience to the problem that you're feeling, and try and develop that emotional connection, that chemistry, because that's the only way you'll fix something.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think look for someone that asks why. Look for kind of questions and thought behind. Like, one of the biggest things when I go into a business, quite often they'll, it's whether they've got a marketing function or not. We need a marketing manager. We need a and the answer, well, kind of like why? What's going on? And actually, if you look at it, if you take it as like a GPT led thing, like a kind of a look in on it. If you're looking down at it, as GPT goes to look for stuff, I can see how you've got to that. What you actually need is for someone to go in and go, well, actually, what is really happening? And most of the time, not always, most of the time, what businesses need from a marketing point of view is a plan and a really good doer. And they don't need marketing managers and marketers. They need somebody who's really good at going to whoever it is, going to the boss, sitting down, telling them on Tuesday that they're sitting down with them on Thursday at 10 o'clock, and I need them to think about going down, talking that, getting the content, getting it out.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, and it's that, and that's experience. If you asked, Chat GPT about that or whatever, and again, it's not all about that. But if you ask that, you'll get a result based on kind of high level looking in rather than looking out.
Yeah.
And you've got to remember that, and again, this might be wrong, but this is my understanding of the AI, learns from GPT. So it will create some content, so the internet gets fuller with more content. So when you ask again to go and look, it will look at an increasing amount of AI-led content. So actually, it just gets more and more generic. It just gets more
diluted.
More diluted. And actually, this is, and it's fine. It will affect the world. It will change the world. We've seen this with all sorts of different tools that will do stuff, and a lot of it is really, really good. And I think the key bit, the point of this knowledge, is that actually we all need to know that we need to look for a conversation with someone that knows really is. Is the issue people? Is it that? And that's stuff that you can't get by AI. And I think this is where this kind of conversation came about as we sat in the car. Is that actually the value of experience has never been more valuable, because there's so many tools that will kind of gloss over the issues.
Yeah.
And I think that, you see it everywhere. I needed a new light bulb the other day.
Okay. Was that because you had a special thought, or?
I'd rather say that than what I actually say. But I like making biltong. I like biltong with a beer. So you need to kind of hang meat, and you warm it.
Okay.
And actually, it's really difficult to find a hot light bulb these days, because all light bulbs are now, for very good reasons, low wattage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're bright, so they're wattage. And actually, you go to, I went to a well-known DIY, so don't say their name because that's not fair on anyone. And
you sound so BBC then.
yeah.
Why were you being so BBC?
Yeah. Well,
sorry, other TV people are available.
I am.
So you went to B&Q?
Yes.
Wix or
No, I went to a place.
okay.
Wilco's. Anyway, I went there, and through no fault of anyone's, the young chap that I spoke to, just about to say it that reason, he didn't have the experience to kind of get that I was going to kind of that, and he sort of then showed me some bulbs, and we go, oh, well, that one. And no matter how many times I said to him, I need one that gives out 40 watts. Oh, that one's equivalent to 40 watts. I'm like, great. It's been there forever. That if you take off, it's still got paint from 1804.
So did you go in and ask for some 4 candles?
Yeah, I did. We had this hilarious sketch. Yeah. But you go and ask these people. You say, I want this, and they go, oh, it's this one. Yeah. And that's it. And that's in the conversation. And that's just experience. And that's not actually, if I'm being kind of critical, experience of bulbs. What a great skill to have. That's experience of listening to a customer. That's experience of actually hearing what's being, and that's all the stuff, and it's not just that, and this is what I think we will lack in 10, 20, 30 years time as we go forward. Real experience. One, because you and me will be dead. Well, probably not. You probably will, I'll be.
What date is it?
Yeah, mark it in your diary, folks. But we will be not working. And actually, a lot of people that would have been in business long enough, and it isn't always a time thing, but time in it is really important. A lot of the people that will be in business long enough will have learned in an AI era, so won't have gathered the experience because they're a shortcut. And actually, I think that you need to look for knowledge from people that have that hands-on knowledge.
Okay. We probably need to demonstrate to people that we stand behind that metaphorical counter in that old hardware store with the brown overall on.
Yes.
Because
I love a brown overall.
Because we have that experience. We know which nut and bolt goes together. We know which washer that tap needs. We know, and these metaphors, love them. But they are the kind of the things that, from our experience, a business owner will come in and say, this is the problem. We can go to that drawer and we can pull out the relevant piece of experience, extract that bit of knowledge and pass it over to them for a fee. But the point is that if you develop your entire persona through artificial intelligence, your drawers are I don't know where I'm going with this, but anyway, but your drawers will in fact only be other AI.
Yeah.
Which it will be continually diluted, will not be specific to the person's needs. So therefore you will not ever be able to really solve the problem. You'll just go around in a circular loop.
Yeah. And I think you're really right. And I think, if I was just going to kind of prod on that, I think actually it's our job to say, is that the problem? Because when a business owner comes to me and says, this is the problem, I'm like, well, I don't want to hear what that is. What is going on? What is happening that has manifested this conversation? Why? What are you seeing in your day to day? Because actually, it might have nothing to do with marketing. It might have nothing to do with your leaders aren't right. It might be a communications channels thing. It might be a kind of, it might be any number of things. And I think, that's where I think, if you just, in an AI world, you go, what's the problem? Whereas actually, and that will in some circumstances help. But if I was to be a betting man, I would say that the majority of times you go in and someone tells you what the problem, that isn't actually the problem.
Yeah, 100% agree.
The different cause of that. And that's not the business owner's fault, because like the rest of us, they get close to their business, they think what it is, they don't have the time to step away and get complete ignorance of their business to then look back in. And I think, it's that is what will happen as an AI world. There'll be these superficial fixes, whereas actually the real issue is that and that.
Okay. So if we take a couple of things away from this then, if you're a business owner, you could use ChatGPT or any of the other AI systems. You could ask it a logical question and go, tell me how I'm going to fix my marketing stuff, fix that thing. And it will come back with something that is, on the face of it, exactly what you need in terms of a set of fixes for your perceived problem.
Yeah.
So that's point one. So you could use it as a business owner to potentially fix your own business. As a coach, consultant, just getting into the industry or trying to get into the industry, you could use it to create content which builds a reputation, but in reality, no substitute for real experience.
Yeah.
The crux of all of this and you articulated it brilliantly, is that the business owner or anybody really that's facing into something that isn't working, it requires a real human being with some real experience to be able to ask the right questions to get to the real problem, and then use their own experience to fix that problem or offer suggestions of a fix.
Yeah.
All of these things are AI right now just can't do.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the crux of it. So if you're a business owner, use the tools by all means, but don't rely on the tools, because you still need that human experience element.
Yeah, and I think with anything like this, it's the success of the app ever governed by the quality of what goes into it.
Correct.
And actually, the reality is most business owners are far too close to their business to be able to, I don't know why I'm doing inverted commas, this is audio, to ask. I just hold a sign up. To ask. Most business owners are too close to be able